Hello Internet, Seth Skorokowski, and today we'll be exploring the alien RPG adventure Fallout. Written by Andrew E.C. Gaska, the scenario appears as a bonus portion of the 2022 novel Colony War by David Barnett. Whoa. They have RPG adventures in the novels? Why didn't I know that? Yep, in fact 3 books have RPG scenarios in the backs of them, sort of a crossover promo between Titan Books and Free League Publishing, which is pretty cool, but also not too great in the promotional department because so few people in the alien RPG community ever heard about this. Even the novel covers lack any mention of bonus RPG adventure inside or something to, tell people to encourage them to buy the book in order to get the adventure. Anyway, the adventure is pretty short. It's a single-act cinematic scenario, and all you need to play it is the Alien RPG core book, though the Colonial Marines Operation Manual also has some useful information inside of it, so while not necessary, I think it might be pretty useful for any game masters. It comes with 4 pre-generated characters, each with their own agenda, buddy, and rival, and it picks up in the immediate aftermath of the novel, so it's not the players trying to recreate any of the stuff from the novel, but it picks up exactly where the novel leaves off. The setup, and I can give all this before the spoiler warning because this is all the information that the players are given right up front, right out the gate, is that recently several of the different colony worlds have been bombed with a strange biochemical weapon that's containing some sort of accelerated pathogen, simply called the black goo. Those who aren't immediately killed mutated to monstrosities. There's a lot of finger pointing back and forth, but nobody actually knows who's responsible for all this. All of the bombed colonies were quarantined and nuked, destroying the threat, but also destroying any ability for this pathogen to be studied and maybe a cure or a vaccine for it to be developed. 3-player character scientists have received a tip that the nearby mining moon of LV-187 was just attacked. So, securing themselves a player character pilot who is a ship, they plan to bypass the authorities that are quarantining this moon off, offer any rescue and relief to any survivors that they find, gather any xenobiological samples, make a holographic record of this incident, and then escape before the nukes hit, making this high risk but potentially high reward. Now, for full disclosure, I did not run this adventure myself. I played it as a player with the How We Roll podcast and my buddy John Hook serving as our game mother. In fact, we played this adventure almost a year ago, and at the time, both How We Roll and myself were up for the Emmy Award, so before one of them, we're kind of talking a little bit of smack back and forth about who's going to win it. So just to give you an idea, it was quite a while ago that we played this, but How We Rolled hadn't released the session episodes yet, so I kind of put off doing this review until those had started coming out. Now, currently they have started, but they're patron only as early access, but they are available for people out there, so hopefully the general masses will get access to them soon enough. I went ahead and stuck a link down below if you want to hear our session. Man, you've been getting to playing a lot more games lately. You even running sessions anymore? Never mind that, I know the answer. Now the real question everybody wants to know, did you finally survive a John Hook adventure? It's not about surviving, man. It's about the experience of it. And we had a lot of fun playing this. Yeah, you definitely died in this one. Yeah, I died. But now that we have finished this adventure, and I've finally gotten a chance to read the novel, or at least listen to the novel because I did the Audible version of it, and then I had to pick up the Kindle version just so I could read the adventure that was in the back because that wasn't in the Audible version, I was able to read the adventure and discover just how many changes that John Hook made to it, and I'm finally ready to give my thoughts, my criticisms, and my suggestions for any game masters out there who might want to run this adventure for their own groups. And I'm Jack, the artificial player character. I'm mostly here to tell jokes and bust his chops for being so death-prone. But before we go any further, I must warn you that there will be spoilers, both for the adventure and for the novel. So any players in the audience, please stop here to send your game masters this way to see about running the adventure for you. But if you keep going and you spoil yourself, no one will hear you scream. Okay, Game Masters, let's do this. The short backstory, and most of this is going to be covered in the novel, is that LV-187 has not been bombed by the Black Goo. Instead, the nearby world of New Albion has declared its independence from the Three-World Empire, and it's infested this mining colony with xenomorphs and has now claimed this mining colony for themselves. Meanwhile, the ICSC has asked the Union of Progressive Peoples for help in giving aid in protecting its colony, so the UPP has sent a massive warship out there to help. But they've also secretly hacked into the colony's security feed, and they know what's really going on here. They want to capture some of the xenomorphs for themselves. Additionally, the Colonial Marines have sent their own warship, the USS Cronula, hoping to recover some xenomorph samples. Captain Dagny, the pilot player character, has gotten in trouble with the law, and he's been offered a deal from the Colonial Marines to get those samples in exchange for a clean slate. So he's told a bunch of chumps, aka the rest of the player characters, that LV-187 was the victim of a black goo bombing. His mission is to secure some alien eggs, or at least alien impregnated scientists that he's bringing with him, and to bring them back to the USS Cronula. Now, little does he know that the Cronula has already been taken down by railgun fire and crashed into this moon, but we'll get to that once we get to that. The adventure offers us 4 pre-generated characters: 2 human scientists, an android scientist, and the scheming pilot Captain Dagny. Now, for more colorful versions, along with character pictures, an Aliens fan named Arthur Dallas has made those available on his DeviantArt page. I stuck a link down below in the description for any game masters wanting to use those, as well as some maps and deck plans that are also there. The adventure opens with their ship arriving in system, seeing these rival fleets of warships facing off against each other. Now, this is where it gets a little bit weird. The module says that if the player characters let their presence be known, the UPP warship orders them to stand down for boarding, where they're then, captured and interrogated, and then they're going to be sent down to the colony to recover some items for the reactor. Though it doesn't say what happens if the player characters just decide to run from this warship. I can only assume that they get fired upon by the MiG fighters, but the module doesn't actually say anything. However, if the player characters wish to slip past this blockade undetected, they have to make a pretty difficult piloting check in order to do this. On a failure, instead of being hailed and boarded and interrogated, just like we talked about just a second ago, a single MiG-730 breaks off formation and heads their direction. Now, the player characters, they can shut off their sensors and engines in order to avoid a target lock. This is then compared to the MiG's pilot's comtech roll, and if the MiG succeeds, it fires a missile and the player character's ship crashes. If the MiG pilot fails to acquire a target lock, it just flies back into formation as if nothing happened, which is just, I don't know, it's kind of weird. It's kind of like, never mind, I'm not going to shoot at you anyway. So this whole section reads kind of clunky to me, so here are my suggestions for it. When the player characters arrive in system, they then make the piloting check to avoid being spotted by this UPP warship. If they succeed, then great. They can go down to the colony and land wherever they like. However, if they fail this piloting check, then the warship orders them to stand down for boarding. I'd also give them 1 stress for getting spotted, like immediately out the gate once they got here. Now, if the player characters refuse to stand down when they're ordered, that's when the MiG is going to attack them, and maybe the player characters can avoid a targeting lock by shutting off their sensors and engines, but the bad guys are still going to know that the player characters are there. They were like, stop, and the player characters ran, but they weren't able to get a target lock on them, so the PCs were able to land down on the colony. That gives us a sequence of events, a cause and effect, rather than how it's written as just a bunch of semi-related things. The way it's written, the only way that the player characters would be ordered to shut down and get boarded is if they just show up in the system and announce their presence to everybody on the radio. Which would be crazy for us to do. I mean, we were told up front that our job was to sneak down there, get a sample, and sneak back out. So why on earth would we be broadcasting our positions out to everybody? Then again, players, they do some interesting decisions. For the colony itself, the module gives us this map, and it's extremely difficult to read. In fact, this is the clearest I could get it from the Kindle version, which is still pretty fuzzy. Now, when John Hook ran us, he found this fan-made version, which is much, much cleaner and higher resolution. I stuck a link below for anyone that's wanting to use this map. Additionally, Arthur Dallas has made color maps as well. They're a little bit different, but nothing too significant outside of the landing pad isn't hanging out over the cliff's edge. But it also includes a map for the lower level, which the adventure does not give you, a map for the lower level with the reactor and everything, which is, potentially a pretty important location. The module talks about how important it is, but never gives us a map for it, so thank you, Arthur Dallas, for correcting that wrong. Now, if the characters are landing under their own power, they can set down here wherever they wish. If they've been hit by a missile, game mothers can roll on this table or simply choose where it is they come down. A successful piloting check means that they manage a control crash, and their ship can be repaired with some parts that are found inside the colony. A failed roll means that they do survive the crash, but the ship is completely total, and they're going to need to find a different means of getting off the planet. Okay guys, we are 3 minutes into this adventure, and we have already been shot down by hostile forces and trapped on a site that might be getting nuked soon. I'm sure our day cannot possibly get any worse than this right here. Now, the module doesn't mention this, but a few things should be visible to the player characters pretty clearly on their approach, and game mothers should mention to them. First, the comms tower is a collapsed, burning mess after an incident in the novel where somebody flew a dropship into it. Second, the northern field is strewn with debris and flaming wreckage from where a downed warship had crashed. Investigation of the crash site can find some pretty neat stuff here, including plenty of evidence that the ship was the USS Cronula, the same ship that Captain Dagny was planning to sell the xenomorph specimens to, meaning that his whole arrangement and plan is now just completely out the window. While the USS Cronula getting shot down before the player characters arrive is consistent with the timeline as it was presented in the novel, when John Hook ran us through it, that is not how he did it at all. Instead, we were already at the site, and we were in the command center watching it through the screens as this flaming ship came out of the sky, giving distress calls, and the ground shook beneath our feet as it hit, and things are shaking and falling off the walls, and it was dramatic and scary. We recommend that Game Masters probably should do it that way instead, because, it's all about your player's experience, and you want them to have the most dramatic and fun experience playing this game as possible, rather than it being 100% canonical to a novel that they probably haven't even read. Another thing that John changed when he ran us through this, and I really support that other game masters do this, is that the landing pad is overhanging this huge ravine, and it had some damage from all the stuff that had happened there. Now, it will support the player character's ship if they do land there, but it might collapse when the USS Cronula crashes later on if the game mothers decide to do it that way, or at least give a nice dramatic end to the adventure as they're racing to it to get away, as they can feel it buckling under their feet and things start rolling and sliding off the edge. Now, once they make it inside the complex, there are plenty of signs that things have happened here. You got stacked bodies, some of them with bullet holes, some of them with their throats slashed, some of them have their chests exploded out from the inside. There's even a pile of burned xenomorphs sitting over in one corner. All the power here is down, making opening doors pretty difficult to do, and each section of the complex requires them finding and activating the emergency batteries. We get a list of random encounters to roll or choose from as the player characters are making it through the various key locations. Now, what they do and where they go once they arrive here is completely up to the players. Maybe they'll grab a power loader and fix their damaged ship. Maybe they'll jury-rig a railgun from the crashed Cronula and make an artillery weapon with it. But the module gives us a few optional events that can kind of push the adventure along. A squad of New Albion Royal Marines might land and capture and interrogate the player characters, gather up any eggs that haven't already been taken, or a team of UPP soldiers might land, battle it out with the New Albion soldiers with the player characters, caught in the middle of this big firefight, or they might capture and interrogate the player characters and force them to go down into the disabled reactor to recover the memory chips from some of the androids there. Now, one thing with that mission to go down in the reactor and recover those memory chips is that the android dog Davis is specifically mentioned in Maya's backstory as being extremely important to her, so game mothers might want to find out from Maya's player exactly how she feels about digging this chip out of the half-melted body of a good friend, right? This could be a fantastic opportunity for character roleplay, but the adventure completely fails to point that out. Discovering the truth of what happened at this colony can be done one of two ways. First, they can just get the power back on at the command deck, and they can review the footage from the New Albion causing the infestation to them gathering up all the eggs after killing the queen. Or if they talk to the UPP agent, they can find out from her what happened because, they've already hacked and reviewed all the footage, so she might share that with them as they're talking it out with the player characters. Now, however the player characters get out of this entire situation is completely up to them. Maybe they'll fly out with their own ship. Maybe they'll steal a marine dropship and take off, and maybe strike a deal with one of the different factions. Personally, and the module makes no mention of this at all, but if they're forced to go into the damaged reactor, maybe they could turn the reactor back on, causing that meltdown to restart, causing a huge destruction, and forcing everybody to start scrambling away as the sirens start coming on, and giving a good opportunity and opening for the player characters to make their move and escape. Overall, this is a pretty simple adventure, but it packs a pretty good punch. I really wish the map was available as a download, that way we have a higher resolution one, and we also had a map with a lower level, but fans have at least taken care of that one for us. What I really like is that the player characters are arriving after the main action is already done. The big adventure and all the action and excitement has already been finished. The xenomorphs are mostly gone, the queen is dead, the rival factions at this point are just battling it out over whatever spoils remain. The player characters arrive and are just stuck in the middle, having been led here under a false pretense. It can make a sort of an exciting mystery as they're trying to figure out what happened here, and they're gathering evidence and escaping with proof to show off to the world of what really happened, or gather some xenomorph samples to maybe sell, or try to find a way that they can combat the xenomorphs, or just simply show up and have to fight their way out of here and escape, just turning this into more of a survival horror adventure. While it does follow and stay very true to the events in the Colony War novel, I don't think that game masters should feel beholden to that, such as changing it up when the USS Cronula crashes, or maybe having it possible to rescue the android dog Davis and maybe get him reactivated. I'd also like add some sort of ticking time clock aspect of a nuclear explosion. So either the UPP is planning on just nuking the site altogether, or the reactor meltdown wasn't shut down properly by Davis, but only delayed. That only gives the player characters the stakes of getting out of here in time because they know that they have to get out of here in time before everything explodes, but also gives a really great dramatic escape as the colony explodes behind them, erasing all physical evidence of what really happened here. You can find Colony War wherever books are sold. The novel isn't bad, but the adventure is definitely worth checking out. Hey, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see some more of our stuff, such as game reviews or how-tos, just hit that subscribe button. If you want to support Seth's channel, consider picking up one of his books and novels, available in print and audiobook, and while there's no adventures inside of them, who knows, maybe you'll even enjoy it. Till next time, gamers, you have a great day. Because Captain Dagny's entire reason for being here is to get some samples and bring them back to the Cronula in order to get paid and get out of some trouble that he's in on this side. Once he finds out that the Cronula's been wrecked, he has no more reason to be here, and he's probably going to want to get out of town, right? He's probably going to load up in his ship and just fly off and abandon the rest of the player characters to their fate. And if he does that, then great, let him. However, go ahead and say that maybe before he closed that door, a single xenomorph made it inside, right? So then about 20 seconds after liftoff, he finds himself face-to-face, one-on-one against a single xenomorph. And if he makes it, great. He can fly off and live a great life. If not, the rest of the player characters get to watch as their ship suddenly kind of starts banking left and right and smashes into the ground in a big old ball of fire. But that is completely fine, because once they search the wreck of the Cronula, they're going to find a perfectly serviceable sleeping pod there, complete with a backup character inside of it. And that backup character is going to have a story point because that player played their last character to the T. I think that is a great plan.